Both India and the countries of West Asia initiated their respective struggles against foreign domination during the mid 20th century. The Arabs and the Indians endeavored to draw strength from one another's resistance against a common adversary. However, there was a notable lack of efforts to forge a unified front against the forces of imperialism and colonialism. India's diplomatic relations with Pakistan also played a significant role in shaping New Delhi's interactions with Arab nations. Pakistan positioned itself as a closer ally to West Asia and frequently attempted to portray India as an anti-Islamic country. In response to Pakistan's adversarial stance, India adopted a pro-Arab position to counterbalance the narrative. Despite strong connections with the Arab world, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru did not shy away from engaging with Israel when circumstances called for it. This nuanced approach reflects India's complex diplomatic strategy in a region marked by historical tensions and shifting alliances. Einstein's letter represents a significant historical moment as it sought to persuade India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to support the establishment of an Israeli state. In his correspondence, Einstein employed three primary types of arguments to convey his message effectively. Firstly, he drew a partial parallelism between the Jewish people and the untouchables in India. By doing so, he subtly aligned the Jewish struggle for statehood with the broader movement for Indian independence. This analogy was not merely a rhetorical device, it emphasized the shared experience of marginalization and the quest for dignity and rights that both communities faced. Einstein's approach highlights the interconnectedness of social justice movements around the world by framing the Jewish aspirations for a homeland as akin to the India's fight against the caste system. He aimed to resonate with Nehru's own values and the principle of equality and justice that were central to India's freedom struggle. This thoughtful and strategic correspondence serves as a reminder of the power of advocacy and dialogue in shaping political landscapes. Understanding the historical context of such letters allows us to appreciate the complexity of international relations and the importance of empathy in global discourse. In essence, Einstein's letter not only sought and influence policy but also aimed to foster a deeper understanding of the human experiences behind national identities, highlighting a universal quest for recognition and respect. Through these diplomatic endeavors, India sought to navigate the interstate geopolitical landscape of the time, aiming to uphold its interests while fostering cooperative relationships with the Arab world. India's historical support for Palestinian rights is deeply intertwined with its own journey towards independence, which highlights the recent shifts in relationships with Israel. Back in 1947, India voted against the United Nations partition plan for Palestine, standing alongside Arab nations in advocating for a federal state that would grant special status to Jerusalem. This decision underscored India's steadfast commitment to the Palestinian cause. Over the years, India's support for Palestinian statehood has remained unwavering. In 1974, India recognized the Palestine Liberation Organization, that is PLO, as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, further solidifying its stance. Solidarity with Palestine has been a cornerstone of India's foreign policy, rooted in its anti-colonial and non-aligned principles, which resonate with the aspirations of Arab states that have consistently championed the Palestinian cause. As we reflect on the history, it's essential to appreciate the complexity of the international relations and evolving dynamics that shape them. India's journey illustrates the delicate balance of friendship and diplomacy, reminding us that the quest for justice and equality knows no borders. As India's stance on Israel has significantly evolved over the decades, it reflects a complex interplay of geopolitical dynamics and domestic considerations. On December 21st, 1981, a significant meeting took place at the residence of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in New Delhi. At that time, India was allowing Israel to operate a consulate in Mumbai, a move that was carefully managed by the Indian government. The consul's movement within India were restricted, requiring special approval for the travel, indicating that this diplomatic presence was not intended for foster a robust relationship with Israel. The Indian Foreign Office was particularly vigilant in its regard as it sought to reassure Arab nations that the consulate did not symbolize a serious diplomatic affiliation. The strategy was crucial for India as maintaining strong ties with the Arab world was essential for the economic well-being of the country. During those times, a significant portion of India's economy relied on the remittances sent back by Indian workers employed in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. These earnings were a vital source of income for many families and contributed significantly to India's overall economic stability. This period in Indian foreign policy illustrates the complexity of international relations, especially in a geopolitical landscape where balancing relationships with diverse nations is critical for national interest. Understanding this historical context helps us to shed light on delicate diplomacy that characterizes interactions between countries with differing political agendas. Initially, India opposed the partition of Palestine in September 1947, but by September 1950 it formally recognized the State of Israel. Despite this recognition, India chose to defer establishment of diplomatic relations for an extended 42 years. However, since the normalization of relations in 1992, India and Israel have developed robust bilateral trade and military ties, marking a significant shift for India's foreign policy. Throughout this evolution, US involvement in the India-Israel relationship has been a constant presence, though not always consistent or direct. For instance, during the Suez Crisis in 1956, both India and United States condemned Israel's military intervention alongside France and the United Kingdom. Following the end of the Cold War in 1991, US advocacy played a critical role in facilitating a change in India's approach to Israel, culminating the establishment of diplomatic relations in January 1992. However, the influence of US on the bilateral relationship has been largely indirect and gradual, tracing back to the mid-1980s when American Jewish organizations began mediating to foster closer ties. One pivotal figure in this transformation period was P.V. Narasimha Rao, an influential activist, lawyer, and statesman from the Indian National Congress, who served as the Prime Minister of India from 1991 to 1996. His leadership was instrumental in reshaping India's foreign policy, including its approach to Israel. Interestingly, while the US initially supported the strengthening of defense ties between India and Israel, the landscape has shifted dramatically. Today, American defense industries find themselves in direct competition with Israel firms, further complicating the dynamics of the trilateral relationships. As India's Israel policy has undergone significant transformations over the decades, it reflects a complex interplay of geopolitical dynamics and historical context. Initially, India opposed the partition of Palestine in September 1947, a stance that evolved into the formal recognition of the State of Israel just 3 years later in September 1952. This marked the beginning of a long and nuanced relationship between the two nations. For an extended period, India chose to defer the establishment of diplomatic relations with Israel, a decision that lasted for 42 years. However, the landscape shifted drastically post 1992, leading to the emergence of robust bilateral and trade and military ties. The involvement of the United States in these bilateral relationships has been a consistent underlying factor, though it has not always been direct or unwavering. Notably, during the the Suez Crisis in 1956, both India and US criticized Israel's military intervention alongside France and the UK. The end of the Cold War in 1991 marked a pivotal moment, and US lobbying played a crucial role in persuading India to alter its approach towards Israel, culminating in the establishment of formal diplomatic relations in January 1992. It is important to note that this influence was often indirect and incremental, tracing back to the mediation efforts of American Jewish organizations as far back as the mid 1980s. In the current landscape, while the US initially encouraged the development of defense ties between India and Israel, it now finds the defense industries in direct competition with Israel firms. So this dynamic illustrates the complexity of international relations with historic alliances can evolve into competitive interactions as these nations continue to navigate their unique relationships. The factors influencing their policies remain multifaceted and understanding the evolutions is essential for grasping the current geopolitical climate and the role of major powers like the US is shaping bilateral relationships globally. Iranian Islamists have long expressed solidarity with Palestinian cause, reflecting a deep-rooted ideological connection. This relationship has persisted despite ongoing tensions between Iran and Israel. Interestingly, during the Iran-Iraq War, which lasted 1980 to 1988, Israel provided covert support to Iran, a fact that underscores the complex geopolitical landscape of the time. The dynamics shifted significantly during the 2006 Lebanon War when the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps (IRGC) were reported to have played a direct role in bolstering Hezbollah's military efforts against Israel. This support exemplified Iran's commitment to its allies in the region and its stance against Israel. Fast forward to July 2019, reports emerged indicating that Israel had intensified its military operations against Iranian missile shipments destined for Iraq. Israeli F-35 combat jets were allegedly involved in striking Iranian targets within Iraqi territory on multiple occasions throughout the year. These airstrikes were predominantly focused on Iran-backed military as highlights the ongoing tensions and strategic implications of Iran's influence in the region. Moreover, Iran's alliance with Syria has been of paramount importance, particularly during the Syrian civil war. Iran has provided substantial military and logistical support to the government of Bashar al-Assad, further solidifying its position as a key player in Middle Eastern geopolitics. The situation further escalated on October 8, 2023 when the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah initiated an attack against Israeli positions. This action was a direct response to Hamas' attacks on Israel a day earlier, marking the beginning of a renewed conflict that underscores the volatile and interconnected nature of Middle Eastern hostilities. In summary, the intricate relationships and historical context between Iran, Israel, Hezbollah, and the broader regional dynamics continue to shape the geopolitical landscape, influence the ongoing conflicts and alliances that define the tumultuous area of the world. On October 8, 2023, just one day after Hamas initiated its attack on Israel on 7th October, Israel responded with airstrikes on Gaza in a display of solidarity with the Palestinian. Hezbollah entered the fray, targeting Israel militant installations in Sheba Farms and Golan Heights, regions that remain under Israeli occupations. This marked the beginning of a significant escalation in the hostilities, resulting in a series of cross-border military exchanges between Hezbollah and Israel. These exchanges have a profound humanitarian impact, displacing entire communities in both Israel and Lebanon. The conflict has led to extensive damage to infrastructure, including buildings and agricultural land along the border areas. From October 7, 2023 to September 2024, a staggering 10,200 cross-border attacks were recorded, with Israel responsible for approximately 8,300 of those incidents. The toll on civilian populations has been severe, with over 96,000 individuals in Israel and more than 1 lakh 11,000 or 11 lakh 1,000 flee to their homes. Despite the intensity of these exchanges, Israel and Hezbollah have thus far managed to sustain a level of conflict that inflicts damage without spiraling into a full-scale war. This precarious situation serves as a reminder of the volatile dynamics in the region and the ongoing struggle for peace and stability. As the conflict continues to unfold, the humanitarian implications remain a critical area of concern for both nations and the international community. Critics highlight the year 1982 as a pivotal moment in the history of Iranian-Lebanese relationship, marking the inception of Hezbollah with Iran's assistance. This period saw Iran providing not only operational support but also substantial financial backing, which were instrumental in transforming Hezbollah into a formidable military. As a result, Hezbollah emerged as a significant deterrent against Israel's influencing the geopolitical landscape of the region. Understanding this development is crucial for anyone interested in the complexity of the Middle Eastern politics and the enduring impact of these alliances. Missiles from Iran striking skies of Israel about 19 hours ago, and Israel-Iran war is going on. It's a first truly long-range fire, fire war in modern warfare. Between Israel and Iran, and many come to battle of numbers. Military analysts have suggested that Iran may be rapidly running out of missiles while Israel is burning through its stock of interceptor missiles used to shoot incoming missiles down. If you want to compare the number of missiles since the conflict began on Friday, Iran has launched about 370 ballistic missiles at Israel, according to IDF. But the interception rate is falling down from 90% to 65%. IDF indicates that it is not running low on missile interceptors also. According to Iran, the Iron Dome has been attacked, but senior Israeli intelligence official reported that only about 65% of Iranian missiles were intercepted in the past 24 hours, significantly lower than the nearly 90% interception rate the day before. The decline in Israel's interception rate could be due to its dwindling stockpile of interceptors, the use of more technically advanced missiles by Iran. But IDF indicates that it is not running low on missile interceptors. US official warning Israel's stockpile of Arrow 3S could run out of war continues for several weeks. Israel Defense Forces said it was prepared and ready to handle any scenario. But USA want about 2 weeks to intervene. But Israel-Iran war enters a second week with more strikes as warning against US. Iran struck Israel's hospital also, but Trump want to decide on US role in conflict within 2 weeks because they want to wait how much casualties and what kind of help Benjamin will demand from United States. And moreover, it is possible that US Army want to hide any intervention and support to Israel so that more and more countries will try to expose their role and the war strategy will be more clearly defined by United States. Israeli officials have told that the Trump administration they do not want to wait 2 weeks for Iran to reach a deal to dismantle key parts of its nuclear program and Israel could act alone before the deadline.